I'm up on the roof again, because I like it up here. So what I'm doing is, I'm removing this, which is the gutter runoff. So basically, where this was set at the original height, at the original OSB, and I had to bring this, and bring it up, so it's now going to be level with the new OSB. So what you get is, you can take a little runoff. So as this roof comes over, it then goes straight over here. There's a new plastic trim which will go on here, which gives it a nice angle, which then you secure it to, which then means water just nicely goes straight over, straight into the gutter, easy peasy. But like I say, this one's now in the wrong position, so all I've got to do is get it, leverage it off, repin it at the higher bit, and then get a new plastic trim on that, and then we're ready for some gluing. So I'm going to finish that and I'll crack on. Side note, it's actually bloody freezing today. It was sunny as anything last week, and I keep talking about snow on Thursday. What the hell is going on? I don't be wearing big jackets in April. Oh. Good morning and welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing very well. So here I am on day 3 of this basically tree that's like had a bit of a pop at this garden room repair. So obviously upside, the top is now done. The rubber EDPM is now glued in, done, trims are on. Pretty much happy days. I do still have to pick up those little white bits for the fascia soffit, but it's flipping freezing outside, so yeah, not happening. So I'm gonna go inside instead. So as you can see, that is a rather nice hole. Oh, my head's very shiny, very nice. So my plan today is now gonna be, so where you can see you've got the overlap of the old board there. I'm gonna get my little multi-tool and just trim. Yeah, there's a camera angle across. I'm going to trim all this out, so square off the area basically, so that all just drops out. What I'm then going to do is get my insulation, which is there, and I'm just going to push that right up tight against my new board. Okay, so there's no air gap, so you can't get any condensation going on. And then I'll be disconnecting the light, running a pencil line, because I've got a join, which you can just see here, which is perfect. So I'm going to run that to the end of this wall, across there. I'll then figure out where I need to bring it across to here. So I'll measure off my joist, find a joist over here somewhere, and then do a nice straight cut, and obviously return that across the joist in that direction. So basically this old piece, this whole section will be out. I'll have nice square, perfect edges, and then I'll just replace it with a new bit. But as I cut this, I'm going to use again my fine tool. I'm not going to go all the way through it. So what I'm going to do is just get part way through the plasterboard, so that I can basically get it and then just hopefully snap it a little bit. Doesn't matter if it damages on a plasterboard, because I'm going to replaster it anyway. Because what I'm trying to do is retain this. So if I just put my multi-tool straight through it, I'm going to cut the vapour barrier, and then I can't really stick to it very well. The other alternative is, if I have a bit of an arse doing that, is I'll then do a cut part way through the joist. So you can also see here, there's a part 1. So if I do a little tiny cut across there, better snap it midway, and hopefully this will just be like easier to get hold of. But I'll see how it goes basically, because this is reverse retrofitting stuff. It's not your sort of everyday thing. So I'm gonna see what I can do. But basically I need to make sure I've got some of this that I can at least put my foil tape onto to enjoy my next bit of vapour barrier, so that I can make sure this entire section is sealed up and vapour barriered as well. Makes perfect sense, doesn't it? So basically it's one of those days where it's just kind of having a go here. It's gonna be a bit of a messy one, because obviously cutting plasterboard is always good fun. I'm gonna have a bit of a clear up first, because apparently somebody made a bit of a mess on the floor. Fine, it was me. I'll clear up my own mess. All right, happy? But I've got a cup of tea and a coffee. That's the way to start a day. That really is the way to start a day. So I'm going to get set up, clear up some mess, and start chopping this out. Right, so I've tied up a bit. Look, space to walk around, do a little dance, making a love, get down to... I won't sing to you, right. But what I've done is I've changed tack, because I had a quick bite to eat in the van. I'm thinking about it, and obviously, yeah, trying to go through the fine tool, even if you're trying to restrict it, it's a pain in the arse. And then trying to manually cut, it's a pain in the arse. So what I've done was, as you can see, I pencil marked it, so I've got a nice square edge going through like that. And what I've done is I've just taken a normal Stanley blade, like this one, held my level up on the ceiling, on that mark, and just spliced through it about 5 times. And now you can see this first bit I've taken down, look. That is still intact. Don't worry about those bits here, because that section, can you see it? Because I had to do a cut so I could find where the joist was exactly, because that'll get tacked back up again now. But it now means, over this section, look, that vapour barrier is still perfectly in one piece. So I just trimmed this little bit of paper off. I've still got a full complete join. You can even see in the corner where it's all taped when I originally fit. Not a knife mark, not a nothing. So that is now my plan. So that makes me happy. So theoretically, if I now grab this bit here, because I have done it, already gone through it, it should just crack down. Give it a tape. There you go, see, cover down a tree, leaving all that nicely, perfectly intact, no bother at all. I know, it's like I know what I'm doing. Sometimes, 50-50. So I'm gonna go rip that bit out now, rip that bit out, and then I shall start trimming with the fine tool. Like I say, just these edges here, chop across there, get these crappy bits chopped out, dropped, and then I'll show you how to cut some insulation. Surgical precision is the word you're looking for. That was a bit of an arse, I'm not gonna lie to you. So yeah, there you go. All nice and clean edges now. Ready to go. Ready for my PIR insulation. Now, if I thought about it, and I wish I had, when I was at the top, when we first had the damaged board just exposed, I should have just taken my chop saw, sorry, the second saw just kind of down the joint and chopped it from above. Because that would have made my life a lot easier. I just wouldn't have had to spend like half hour sort of cutting it out with a fine tool. But it did it, it's done. Yeah, it's just one of those things. If I thought about it, I should have done it there and then. But there you go, that's all that done and dusted now. You can see like, yeah, all beautiful now. Still got full join there. Happy, happy days. And same in this corner, there you go, see look, not damaged. Very chuffed, very, very chuffed. So, what I'll do now is I'll cut my PR insulation, so I'll get this measured up for the width and length. I ended up getting 250s because they didn't do little sheets in 100, so take what you can get. I wasn't going to buy a massive sheet, a A4 sheet just for doing this, so I'll just get these two, pin them together, and then chuck those up into there. Once I've done that, it'll basically be getting some silver aluminium tape, the 100mm stuff, and tape all this up, get my new bit of paper barrier in. I did, however, have to buy a whole roll to do that. So if you're in Bracknell area and you want some, there'll be a lot of it going, otherwise it's going in a skip. So there you go. So yeah, I'm gonna get that cut up and then I'll get that put in. I just did a lovely video, good 3-4 minutes, and then it turns out that I'd taken a picture of myself as opposed to actually videoing it. So I was just chatting to myself for a little while there, so you didn't catch any of that. So what I've now done is cut my 250mm bits of PIR into the right size. Blah, 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 blah. There is a hole. This will be for the lids. So you can see here, I've now re-tacked the cable so it's tight up against the OSB at the top. I figured out where my light's gonna actually sit by referencing the distance between this one and there. And then the distance from back to front using these ones. So I now know exactly where it's gonna sit. I then transferred that measurement to my PIR board. And then what I've done is, if I come down there, can you see that angle? So that angle right there is basically going to prevent the board from like being pushed down by the cable. So that angle will allow the board to go nice and flush up against here because it's now got space for the cable to sit. What I've also done is, in the back there, can you just see it? So there you go, cut that bit out. So I've cut this bit out here and across here so that the cable, when it's running to feed the light across here and in returns, it can then run back into its grooves across there. So basically, again, it just means that this board can go perfectly flush up against this OSB, which prevents the cold bridging because there's going to be no gap between this and that now. So what I shall do, double check I'm still recording. I am, very good. I will get this pushed up into place, get this one put on top of it, and then I'll show you what I do from there. Right, there is that up now. Look at this angle, so that is now in, done and dusted. All I did was push them up tight as hard as I could, whacked a 90mm nail in there, 90mm nail, 90mm nail, and a 90mm nail. And I put a couple of screws in as well just to make sure, so that now is tight up against there. What I also do, so say this was 100mm thick PIR board, so this bit I cut out across there, I'll then slice that bit through the half, and then what I do is, you see, because these are already in 50mm bits, I just took one of the offcuts and push it tight up against there. So basically, once this light is in, there'll be no thermal bridging behind it because there's still something there to keep it insulated and done. What I'm going to do in a second is I'm going to just run a bead of silicone across these joints just to stop, again, any moisture sneaking around, which you won't do because we've got extra OSB up there and we've got the roof up there. So They're basically golden, but again, over-engineer it where you've got access to it and you're done and dusted, aren't you? So yeah, so that's that in now. So I'll get that siliconed in, and it's 1 o'clock pretty much, so I'm then going to go for a bite to eat, and then I'll be back. That was a lovely lunch, thank you very much for asking. Chicken tikka sandwich is really nice. So what I'm doing now is vapour barrier going in. So what I've done is cut a bit that's basically just overhangs the back a little bit, just so I've got a bit of trimmage. I've got the brand new front edge at this joint, and then where I've got my 2 clear joists I can see, I have literally just hammer tacked that through using a hammer tack. And if you don't know what a hammer tack is, there is one right here. Ba -ba -ba. So literally just grab it, bang, done. So that's that done. So what I'll do now is I'm going to cut some of my 100mm foil tape like this, trim it off, push that to the end, and now I've got a nice joint there, so I can get onto the original white tape across there, boom, all the way through. Do the same at this end. So you notice I haven't put this right to the very end because I want my tape to stick to the old stuff and in there. If I put that right to the end, I can't really glue it very well, so that'd be stupid, so I don't like that. So yeah, so now you can see how easy to take that, and then obviously I've trimmed that to there, so same that end, get that all taped up, and then this end I'll just poke it through over the back like so. So that is it, that's what I'm going to do, get it up, and then it'll be on to getting the hole cut in that, bring the cables through for the light, which is there, you just see it, just poking through, lovely, lovely. So obviously when you do this, do turn the power off, do isolate stuff, it's off at the switch, and it's off at the fuse board as well, just to be on the safe side. And then if we get the plasterboard up, exciting stuff. So now, look at it, all sealed back in again. Very nice, like I say, that big sheet is now across, done. At the back here, where the tree had come through and actually torn the, what do you call it, the vapour barrier further down, I've basically put a load of this tape going around the corner a little bit, and I've used the stuff that was on the roof, the, what do you call it, the rubber seal basically, that I've then put that into the corner and then jointed it so it now meets up the top of the wood. So basically that is now completely sealed again, so this is now sealed. Now, people can get hung up on this stuff and go, oh, if there's a little crack and gaps and blah, 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 you know, you can get like condensation stuff. No, not really. Don't forget, I've got cut holes for the lights. So as long as this thing is hermetically sealed, you know, it's good to have a few bits of draft here and there, but it's not going to cause any problems. Trust me, like I say, this one has proven that the hybrid system works because it's been up for about, was it, a year and 3-4 months. So it's done a whole summer, whole winter, and those boards were as dry as a bone. It was just the fact the tree fell through it that kind of cooked it up a bit. Nature. So what I'm going to do now is locate my little house and my infant doobie, the cables, and get this measured, and then I'm going to cut a piece of plasterboard and get that done. And what I'll have to do as well is, so basically, between the join, between the 2 new pieces of plasterboard, I want to put something called scrim tape, which is basically, can you see a little bit of it? So just a tiny bit of it there. So basically it's like a hessian tape that runs through, but it knits those 2 joints together. So when I plaster it, it just keeps it bonded and nice and tight, so you don't get many cracks and stuff. But basically, I need to do a little chase across here to remove this bit of plaster so that the tape goes in and sits under this level. And I've got a little tip for doing that. It's a bit messy, but cutting plaster out is a bit messy anyway, but it's a good way of doing it. It creates a bit of mess, but it's very, very quick and even and neat, and I like both those things, so I'll show you that in a minute. So I've now cut my piece of plasterboard. If you want to know how to cut plasterboard, it's very, very, very straightforward. So basically just put your marks, your measurements on, mark it, 2 spots, one at one end, one at the other. Get yourself any sort of straight edge that's not going to bend or twist, so I'll just use my level. Get a standing blade, mark down the level where your lines are, boom, once, twice if you want to, and then just pick it up and snap it. And then that is it, done and dusted, easy peasy to cut. What you might want to do as well is, so you've got a little rasper, so when you get a cut edge of a bit of plasterboard, it kind of leaves very slight little knobbly bits on it, which can then prevent it fitting in spaces. So you just get yourself one of these fucking dirt cheap pennies, and then that rasper just around those rough edges just levels them off perfectly. Now, before I bother to get this in and try and proffer it up and see how it fits into the space, one thing you want to do as well is just mark off the centre of your joists. Okay, so put them marks onto the wall, both ends, so I can then, when I get it pushed into place and it's up, I can then just put 1 screw, 2 screws, 3 screws, 4 screws in either end. That'll be enough to hold it. Then I just get a level across there, pencil mark across the new bit of plasterboard, and then just whip a load of screws in there like that. And before I kind of actually bring it in and start doing that, another thing I'll quickly do is if you look at where the these are, you just see some of them are just a bit proud. So I'm just going to quickly tap those back because they can otherwise just push the plasterboard down a little bit and you get a knobbly bit in it. Again, it looks a bit naff. You know, these aren't like deal breaks, they're going to make a massive, massive difference. But I'll say, while I'm here, I'll not do it. I didn't know I was left handed. Look at that, ambidextrous. I like it. Right, I'm going to go get it, grab it, proffer it up, and put some screws in this bad boy. Right, before I show you this little tip on how to actually, you know, gouge out the plasterboard, can I see plasterboard's now in, light is now back in, switch back on, and hey, it works, which is always a pleasure. So there you go, you can see my mark. I pinged all the way through. Once I got one in either end, those screws in at the angle, same and same. So now we know it's all in perfectly. That is lovely jubbly. The light, cut a hole in the right place. Yeah, all champion. And now I'm going to get this bit done, get it chased out, and I'll show you how to do that right now. So the way I do it is using a planer. Right, I know chippers out there are balking at this going, what the flip? But end of the day, this blade's pretty old and knackered anyway, so I don't really care. So I've done a bit here, so you can see, done. And don't worry, I'm not hitting with screw heads because I buried them further. This is set to like 1.5 mil. So that is just perfectly enough. Just give me a nice little lip just there. So my scrim tape was now sitting that joint. When I plaster it, it'll level off to here. Jobs are good. And it took me a whole 2 seconds to run from there all the way to there. And I'll do that bit across there. Done. I will have to finish off these little bits at the end by hand, but I'll just use I've got a hand scraper in here somewhere in hiding. I just use like an old-fashioned scraper just to finish those own bits off. But literally for a second, zzz, done. It does make a mess, don't get me wrong. I usually have an extractor for this, but it's not with me, it's in my garage. So I've just had to open up the windows, I stick a mask on and just have at it, it blows out really quick. So yeah, I see tools as tools. They can be sometimes used for what they're primarily supposed to be, but sometimes you can use them a little bit how they're not supposed to be used. As long as you do it safely, you think about it beforehand, you're golden. Right, so I'm gonna get that bit done, and then basically, I think that is it for the day. Done and dusted. So if you like, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and join me again tomorrow where I will be plastering this little piece and getting that done. I will then also be tackling, filling and redecking. So basically this entire space is going to be fully redecorated again. It's a year and 3 months old, whatever it is. It's a bit tired now anyway. The insurance is paying for it. So it's like, right, we'll get it completely 100% fresh and back up. All the woodwork as well. It's going to look diamond. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.